But look, folks, I literally, not a joke, and I bet you do the same thing. I look out that window of that Amtrak train and I ride that rail the same way every night. And I look out at those lights flickering. And I wonder, not every night, but I wonder, particularly those late nights, what are they talking about at that kitchen table after they just put their kids to bed? What are they talking about? Well, I think they're talking about what everybody I grew up in my neighborhood talked about. Dad passed away. Can we afford to have Mom move in? Should she move in with us? What about we just got that new computer, but Janie's only 13. Should we let her on the internet? I mean, there's so much pornography and there's so much danger there. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Can you lend me another 20 bucks, husband or wife, to fill up the tank tomorrow? I don't have the cash right now. That's what people talk about where I come from. That's what Americans talk about. And it's not just poor people. It's average middle income people. They wonder about, did you hear the rumor? Did you hear the rumor? They're talking about selling the plant. I'm talking about white collar workers. I'm talking about workers with college degrees. I'm talking about the heartbeat of America. This country has been built by the middle class. And the middle class is under siege. So folks, there's so much more I want to say to you, but I want to hear what's on your minds. Let me conclude these opening comments by making the following point, if I may. Barack Obama gets it. For a kid who got involved in politics because of the civil rights movement, for a kid who was a public defender when I got out of law school, the idea that the first nominee who's an African American, just because he's brilliant, just because he was president of the Harvard Law Review, just because he worked his way through two of the greatest universities in the world, that somehow this guy's an elitist. Try being a black guy growing up in a white neighborhood. You tell me how elitist you are. This is a guy who was raised like a lot of us were. He was raised by his mother, who got married when she was 18 years old, whose father left, who worked her way through school and occasionally had to apply for food stamps, who woke her kid up like my parents didn't wake me up, but my parents beat into my head, who woke her kid up at 4:30 in the morning to make sure, as my uncle used to say, that he learned his sums and rhymes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a guy who gets it. This is a guy who earned his way to those grade schools. And this is a guy who wants to make sure that every child in America, if he or she works hard enough, can earn their way through school and not have to send them to class. And the last thing I'll say to you, not that as they say in some of the churches in my state, Barack Obama needs my testimony, but I'll tell you one thing about him. You want this guy at your back, man. This guy's got a backbone like a ramrod. Anybody thinks that the elegance of his speeches, the elegance of his mind, the way he carries himself and his temperament means he's not tough. You got one heck of a surprise coming. You got one heck of a surprise coming. Let me conclude by saying, you know, I've known Barack for a while. I campaigned for him when he ran for the United States Senate. In the African-American community in Chicago, as if he needed my help, right? But I did. Because that's how I got elected in my home state. But you know what? I watched him. You want to know about a man or a woman? Campaign against him for 14 months. Debate him 12 or 13 times. Watch how he or she reacts under real pressure. You want to know about a pressure cooker, run for president. And any of you women or men who are golfers, if you want to maintain your handicap, don't run for president. But all kidding aside, you learn a lot about how a man or woman thinks. But even more importantly, you learn about the strength of their heart. And that's not a joke. You learn their heart. I'll give you one illustration, and then we'll go to questions. Barack and I liked each other, and I think if you go back and look in that campaign, there's never been a time that anybody wondered whether or not we respected each other. People were saying, well, who's he going to pick? And I was making recommendations from other than me. And people said to me, what do you think the test of whether or not the pick is right? I don't think people analyze it. I think they just feel it. And the feel is if you look at a team and you say, you know, that fits. Well, I knew it fit when he asked me. But I want to tell you one little illustration. If I ever wondered about whether or not I made the right choice of agreeing to go on the ticket, and there was never a doubt of when I told him whatever he wanted me to do, I'd do. It was totally evaporated on the second night of the convention when his two magnificent daughters, oh, they are, aren't they something? They are magnificent. They're not just beautiful, they are bright, they are sweet, they are decent. And my granddaughters, who are the most wonderful girls God ever created in the entire world. My little number two, I have a 15-year-old down to a 3-year-old, and then the prince finally arrived. That's little Hunter, who so maybe saw him with me, who wouldn't walk off the stage. He's named after, but my oldest granddaughter, named after my deceased daughter, she's almost 15. And so it wasn't her that asked, but my number two granddaughter, Finnegan Biden, came up to me. For that name, she better be very smart, tall, and beautiful, because she's going to have to carry it. She carries it well. She comes up and she grabs my coat. She came in and she said, Pop. And I said, what's up, honey? She said, Sasha and I, we want to have a sleepover. And I said, you do? And this is God's truth. At the same time, Michelle's two daughters went to Michelle and said, Mommy, we want to have a sleepover with Finnegan and Maisie and Natalie. And so the next thing we know, we're clearing out a room, putting I know all you have children know this. And by the way, all you guys have daughters, granddaughters are better. Until your daughter gets back to be 21 or 22, you know what I mean? Granddaughters always love their pop. It doesn't matter. My 15-year-old neighbor, we were in a mall not long ago. She said, Pop, can we hold hands? Whoa, Jack. Can you imagine your daughter doing that when she was 15? But look, literally, I walked in and looked at these mats on the ground and the popcorn and the pizza we brought in and the films we brought in from the stick and the cassette. And I looked there, I'm serious, I looked at those kids. And I said, this is America, man. This is where Barack's going to take us. My little girls and his little girls. This is real. It's real. It's deep. It's deep. And so I have no doubt why I'm in this race.